Good morning and welcome to Thoughts and Updates for this week. Um, we start in a fairly sombre tone this week because the death of Johnny Beattie. I nearly called him Johnny Gatey there because he's synonymous with the Gaiety Theatre in my hometown in Ayr. I had the distinct pleasure of working with Johnny on a couple of occasions and also working with his daughter Louise when latterly I was a trustee at Solar Bear Theatre Company, and what a legacy that man has left. He has two daughters who are not just a credit to him, but a credit to themselves. Louise, who was an actress, who's now a lawyer, specialising in health and safety, and Maureen, who's the president of Equity. But Johnny himself was a man who had seen it, done it, been it, but still had the gift of generosity and humility, which allowed him to want to be part of whatever it was that was going on. And he was the very first honorary president of South Ayrshire Youth Theatre, because he had done a panto and we had a couple of kids in the panto, and we had asked them who they wanted to be the honorary president or the patron or some figurehead for the youth theatre, and universally, despite the fact that at that time Johnny would be in his 70s, these young kids, teenagers, not your starstruck 8, 9, 10-year-olds, but, relatively street hardened 15, 14-year-olds, 16-year-olds went, Johnny Beattie, the guy's an absolute legend, and he was. The reason I am very much in Johnny Beattie's debt is not just having the opportunity to work alongside him, but also because as I was growing up, I lived in an alcoholic household where my mother was the alcoholic, and it was a difficult time at Christmas because my mother always wanted to go to the panto. And I can have various memories that don't flood through, but trickle through, because my memory of my childhood is not great, for a variety of different reasons, not just age. However, I remember sitting in the auditorium at the Gaiety Theatre in Ayr and watching this man come on stage where there was a flood of love from the auditorium towards him. And I thought, that's what I want, because that was what was missing in my life. I had none of that. And that led the beginning of my desire to work in the theatre, and it has sustained me ever since. And I had the opportunity, because I knew where Johnny lived, just when I was leaving the youth theatre, to send him a letter to say thank you. He never replied. I never expected a reply. I wasn't, I think, looking for a reply, but I just wanted to put it in paper that I was very much grateful to this exceptional human being who had graced my life at the very early stages of it, but also the lives of thousands, if not millions, of people throughout the years. A man for whom Scotland was a really important part of what he did, a Glaswegian who came to Ayrshire, who was adopted by us and adopted us in return in a way that was warm, exciting, and also very comforting. So at the age of 93, Johnny has left the stage for the last time, but Mr. Gatey will always be a man who very much in all of our hearts is somebody who we hold dear and should do. So Johnny Beattie RIP. It's kept me off Facebook and other things as well. I've noticed my American publisher Brad Berkowitz has come off, or is about to come off, Facebook because of the nonsense that's being posted on there. I have a higher tolerance level, I think, from most people, but there again, I don't use Facebook in any way whatsoever to post personal stuff, although I use it to promote some of the stuff that we do, and I see a lot of companies and organisations who use it to do that rather than have their own website. Facebook is losing its lustre from a lot of the younger crowd, who find Instagram and other things like WhatsApp far more to their taste, Snapchat as well. So I don't spend a great deal of time on it. I do occasionally like some of the stuff that happens on there from some of the people who post. I like keeping in touch with artists particularly, but it's been a kind of strange time, because it is a strange time. I'm here still in the house. We've gone into phase 3 of lockdown here in sunny Scotland. Excuse me, and that means that the restrictions are beginning to ease, and I could have been out today, but just at that point, my car needs a tyre and it's in getting done, and Lorna's car has managed to get itself its own flat tyre, so that tyre needs to be changed today in order to sort that out. So I don't have the means to go travelling, but as of next week, I'm going to go out. Now, people who've not seen this, phenomenal for a while. What I tend to do on a Sunday morning is not sit in my back garden and talk rubbish. I go and talk rubbish somewhere else. So I find a place locally that's of some kind of interest, and because there's been such a gap, I might start to revisit a few of them and start to look at what the background is to them. Particularly, there's a big boxing statue I'd love to go and have a chat about, and other places as well. So if you have any suggestions, keep them clean, but keep them coming. Okay, so my holiday this week has come to an end, so I've not been doing a huge amount of writing, but I've done a little bit. My Scottish Football Supporters Association stuff from last week has gone live, which includes Mr. McLaren Goes for an Interview, which was Steve McLaren going to the Dundee United interview. I've also written this week, it's been Mr. Doncaster Goes for, or tries to make sense, where he goes to his performance review after some of the appalling things that have happened. I've also written an opinion piece on what's happening in Scottish football with Hearts, Partick Thistle, Cove Rangers, Raith Rovers and Dundee United, which ended up in court. It's now going back to an SFA arbitration panel. All of that is gobbledygook if you don't follow Scottish football. But in essence, I wrote an opinion piece a couple of weeks ago which was about, can a snake eat itself? And the thing that's happened this week is that 3 of the clubs have gone to court in order to defend themselves, and they've asked the 30-odd other clubs who are not involved in this at all, apart from being represented by the league body, to contribute to their financial obligations when it comes to mounting this legal challenge, which I find quite kind of odd. Because when you go into a lawyer's office, one of the things that happens, and the same in a doctor's office, is they sit you down and they tell you, here are the pitfalls, here are the dangers, here are the things you have to be aware of. They don't sit you down and go, listen, let's put a couple of quid on this, and probably at 50 to 1 it might not win, but we'll have a thrill out of it. So they must have known it was going to cost them a considerable amount of money. So to then turn round to everybody else and say, we've decided to do this, you're going to pay for it, seems a little odd, especially as the league body which represents all the other clubs are the other party. So there is an organisation that's sitting there going, we'll represent you. So it just seems a bit odd. If you want to be represented on your own, I think you have to stand up on your own. However, having said all that, one of the difficulties I do see with all of this is, if you have the cash, you have the justice. And that's also not very fair. So that needs to be looked at, because clubs like Cove Rangers in particular are probably going to find it very difficult. Raith Rovers probably same as well. Dundee United have a bit of a backer in there somewhere from America. So the presumption, not always the case, but the presumption is that they're going to have a bit of money. And certainly looking at things stand at the moment with Dundee taking their players to a point where they have to ask them to take wage cuts, or they can't survive beyond July, and having released backroom staff, it all looks bad. And Wigan Athletic down in England gone into administration, bought but 4 weeks ago, and then the new owners throw it into administration almost within the month. Something is rotten, if I may misquote my Shakespeare, in the state of football, or soccer. Boxing's back in the United Kingdom. Frank Warren and Queensberry Promotions had a brilliant card in the BT studios on Friday night. I'll be writing about it next week in Talking Boys. Really, really good. Paul Keane from Dundee went down to try and wrest the WBO European strap away from the holder, who was brilliant. Keane was taken out after the 6th round by his father. He was taking an absolute battering. Guy's name who won it, I have temporarily forgotten. I don't want to get his name wrong, so my apologies. For Ringside Report, I've done a little new piece. Brad has asked me to look at politics because of some of the things I talk about in a Sunday morning. So I've done a Mr. Trump Goes to School, which is similar to the stuff I've been doing for the Football Supporters Association, but it's taking the words of a certain other Donald and looking at them in the context in which he never wanted you to see them. And we'll see if that has some kind of traction. The soccer, the football stuff I've sent off to a magazine. They've come back and gone, nah, we don't think it fits us. So I'll have a look and see if I can find maybe another avenue for that. Not done any reviewing this week, although theatre is on its way back. A rather surprising announcement of £1.57 billion being made available for British theatre. A lot of that coming up north to support the infrastructure here. But one of the pleas this week has been, how is that money going to trickle down and favour and help some of our freelance artists? Because they're the ones who make the theatre, they're the ones that make the creative work, and yet they're the ones that are very much unsupported. And yes, my son is one of them. But one of the things I've also noticed this week is Heather Andrews, former student, has been given money in order to do some work. She's a Foley and sound artist, fantastic student, loved it to bits, and great to see her doing this. But she caught COVID early on and had a terrible isolated time, appalling time in Glasgow, which is one of the reasons why I'm so keen on face masks. I've watched Heather, Julie Cleary, both of them on Facebook, showing us the effects of what had happened to them. Ricky, Chris, others who I know, none of whom lost their lives to it, but all of them lost a portion of their lives because they ended up so ill because of it. And I suppose going in and out of the shops this week with a face mask, yes, my glasses frost up, but I've noticed that here in Scotland there are quite a few who are simply doing it, that there's not an angry question mark over it like there's been people who have been assaulted, attacked, and verbally and physically taken to task by people refusing to wear it. And I also see again on Twitter and Facebook this idiot from America who is anti-face mask as much as he is anti-vaxxer, posting about how it's not going to stop the virus spreading because he's tested it with some kind of meter. He hasn't tested it with a COVID-19 test, but hey ho, there are people out there who will accept that and take it, and they're saying, I'm not putting my people in a mask, my children or whatever. And okay, big fella, wee fella, whoever you are, don't go out. Just don't try and infect my daughter, my children, my people, my family, because we will protect you in return, because that's what you're asking people to do. You don't have the responsibility, the maturity to recognise and understand that you put other people at risk as much as putting yourself at risk. In Scotland, we believe we're down to about 1,500 or less in this country who have the symptoms of COVID. So we're very, very cautiously coming out of lockdown because we want to eradicate it, like New Zealand did, and we want to get rid of it. But we've got an open border with England, and we've got cluster spots around the border, or had, where clearly people are going between the two, which is perfectly okay and allowable. But hopefully it's not going to spread north, because we are north. However, with me going back to work on Monday, as of tomorrow, and getting back into the swing of things, there will be much more. So if you do have an idea of where you think I should go, and what I should be talking about for next week, don't hesitate. And promote the idea of hitting the subscribe button somewhere, which is, I don't know, wherever it is. Hit it and promote and suggest to others that they do as well. And till then, bye for now.